Yeah. So we have synced the content from the third party from the Google Drive application to the Search AI application via Google Drive connector after configuring the Google Drive connector, and we have seen what is the process for syncing those documents, right? And there was a query in yesterday's session, like what if we have the documents in the form of the CSV files? So currently, if your document is in the CSV file, uh, one and you want that to be synced to your, like, want that to be sourced to your search application, one step you can do is you can configure a JSON connector. So I'll just show that to you in a while, where you can create your own chunks, like whatever the data you have in the CSV format that you can manually create in a chunkable format and like chunk format, and upload that data just like the chunks to the search applications, right? So that is one way. The another way is that you need to save that to as a XLS format, like as an Excel format. And if you have that in the Google Drive or third party application, you can sync that from the third party application to the search AI application, right? So here in my Google Drive, I'll just show. Yeah. So here I have tried, like I've created a folder in my Google Drive. So where I have a CSV file and the Excel file, right? So if I try to sync the content or the files that I have within this folder, so I can initiate a sync saying uh, in the manage content along with those folders. I would also say like user drive folder ID. Okay, let me do that here itself. So folder ID in. So when you want to sync the content from the folders, like that is uploaded in a particular folder, you just need to open that folder in your application, and whatever the key you have after the folders key, you copy that and paste it over here, right? Click on save. All right. So let me sync the data and I'll show it to you. So syncing is in progress. And if you have the data in the CSV file, so it is observed that the data from the CSV file format is not synced. If you have that in the Excel file, you have the files synced. So you can see the XLSX. So to know more about what are the file formats that are supported for the respective connector, you can go to the Search AI documentation. I'll share the documentation link with you. So currently for Google Drive, these are the file formats supported. So we do have Excel SX as well. So you can see that it has been synced. So in case if you have the files that are password protected, if that could be of any format files, uh, that those files will not be supported for syncing the documents from the, like syncing the content from the Google Drive application to the search application, right? So for the respective yeah, for the respective source, so what are the file formats that are supported? You have the complete details given in the respective connector documentation. All right. So that is with the ingestion part. So as per the data flow, after ingestion, you need to extract the chunks from the data you ingested through one of the sources, right? So Search AI offers an ETL tool, which is extract, transform, and load tool, that allows the transformation of the content after its extraction or ingestion and before it is vectorized. Right? So we have an ETL tool under the extract tab. So where you can extract the chunks, and as well as after the extraction process, you can you can ensure the data that you are sending to the vectorization. Like after extraction, you need to do the vectorization, right? Vectorization is nothing but the transformation process where you convert the chunk data to the chunk vectors, right? So here under extract tab, you can perform the extraction where you can define your own extraction strategies as per the type of the content that you are working with and extract the chunks out of the sourced content. And then once the content is extracted, it moves to a transformation stage where in this stage, it prepares the documents for indexing and ensures that it is clean, organized, and enriched as required. Right. So here by default, you can see a default strategy created on this page. So what this default strategy and when will it be applied, that we will look into in a while. So here to get started with the extraction process, that you need to create your own extraction strategies if required based on the type of the content that you're working on. So you can click on add strategy. Right. So this is what the ETL tool I was referring to a while ago. So which is a tool that allows the transformation of the content, after its extraction. Right. So before indexing, if you want to make sure that the content is clear and organized as required, you can do those optional configurations under the transform stage. All right. So first we'll get start with the extract stage where you need to extract the content. So depending on the type of the source and the format of the content, you can choose the most suitable extraction strategy. So this extraction step is all about getting the content out in the right format. So it is ready for the next set of stages. So with the configurations you define over here, you would have the chunks extracted accordingly. Right. So here the contents we have ingested is, here we have two crawls, right? So we initiated two crawls, and in the documents we have three files uploaded, and in the connectors we have one Excel file. Right. So that is synced from the third party from Google Drive application to the search application. So now from these documents, you need to segment the data and create the chunks out of the data you ingested. So if you want, you can ingest if you want, you can extract the chunks from the ingested content with the default strategy that is already available. Otherwise, if you want to create your own strategies based on the type of the content that you're working on, or the layouts that are running within the documents you ingested, so you can customize the extraction strategies and extract the chunks accordingly. Right. So let's see what are the various extraction strategies that are available and how can you leverage them to generate to extract the chunks. Right. So here under extract tab, we can define the strategies. So click on add extract. So here you need to give a name, right? So for if you observe that content we ingested are of HTML pages and some PDFs and the XLS. So they have their own layouts and they have their own structure of the pages, right? So in the web pages you must have crawled is a combination of text and images. Or the pages you have uploaded from the local drive or the documents could be a combination of the images, tables, and the textual content. And the XLS file is completely a tabular format, right? So based on these layouts, you can choose wisely which extraction model is more suitable so that you would have the more defined chunks extracted, right? So for example, let's say I want to create my chunks from the files that I have crawl from the web pages. So I would create an extraction strategy saying that web strategy. So just give a meaningful name to your strategy. So then here you need to choose the source. So once you select the source name drop down, you would get the list of all the sources that you have configured. So here in under web crawl we have 2 crawls, and under directory we have 2 directories, and under connector we have 1 connector. So whatever configuration, whatever the sources you have configured, all those details will be shown up here, right? So now let's say I want the strategy, like whatever the configurations I want to define over here will be applied to the source that you select in this dropdown, right? So let's say whatever the strategy I'm creating right now, I want this strategy to be applied to extract the chunks from those pages I have crawled under master's bachelor's crawl. All right. So if you want, you can select everything, or if you want, you can, for a specific source, you can create your specific extraction strategy. So let's say I would like to go with master's bachelor's crawl, and I want this extraction strategy to be applied to the pages that I've crawled from this source, right? So what is the type of the content that we have in this crawl should be of HTML pages. So it will just list out the like it will list out the pages, sorry, type of the content that we have in the current source selection. So this is HTML. So once you have selected the source and the content type, you can further add some filters on specifically which pages from this particular source you want to crawl, or specific documents you want to extract the chunks, right? So you can add those additional filters over here. So for example, let's say in the master's bachelor's crawl, I want this strategy to be applied only to the master's related web pages that we crawled, right? And extract the chunks from there. Otherwise, from this particular crawl, I want to apply this strategy only to the bachelor's related pages we crawled and extract chunks. So this way you can add additional filters over here, choosing something like, let's say, the page title. So if the page title contains masters. So within the master's bachelor's crawl, if the page title of that particular web page which you have crawled contains masters, to only those pages we would have this strategy applied, like whatever the configurations you are going to define. So that extraction model will be applied only to the masters related pages you have crawled under master's bachelor's crawl, and chunks will be extracted from those pages, right? So this way you can add additional configurations or the additional filters and define the sources, right? So once the sources are defined, I'll just remove it. I'll just apply this to all the pages I have crawled. So once these sources are defined, now you need to select the which extraction model. So here, when you select the content type, you would be given a suggestion on what are the extraction models that are supported for the given content type, right? So currently we have text extraction and advanced HTML extraction supported. So let's see before what are the various extraction strategies available, right? So here we have the first one we have is the text extraction. So text extraction is here search a like this extraction model Search AI uses the advanced NLP and machine learning techniques to extract the relevant content efficiently in this text extraction model, where in this model it starts by breaking down the text into smaller units, and this process is known as tokenization. Based on the token size you define for the chunks will be extracted, right? And the chunks will be extracted from only the text elements from the document based on the token size that is defined. So in case if you have the data in the form of the images or any other format other than the text elements, the chunks cannot be extracted from those elements of the documents, right? So text extraction purely tries to purely focus on extracting the chunks from the textual elements of the document, right? So it is recommended to go with the text extraction model to extract the chunks from the document if your document is text element, if your document is rich with textual content, right? So in case if you have the document more of images or the tables and less of textual content, so you it is better to choose the other extraction models which are supported for extracting the chunks from the images and the tables as well, because in the text extraction it cannot extract chunks from those elements of the documents, right? So now in the HTML page, if your HTML page is more of textual content and you find there are no images or the tables which has some important information available, you can go with the text extraction for the HTML pages. Right. So the other supported model we have is the advanced HTML extraction. So the advanced HTML extraction strategy is specifically designed to extract data not only from the textual content, but also from the tables and images within the HTML files. So advanced HTML extraction model is specifically for extracting chunks from the HTML pages, making sure that the chunks are extracted from the textual content, images, as well as the tables, right? So in case if you find that the HTML pages that you have crawled has combination of all these elements on the page, right, and you want the chunks to be extracted from all these textual, image, and the tabular elements of the page, then it is recommended to go with the advanced HTML extraction, right? So based on the content type you have selected, here you can see what are the uh, supported extraction strategies. So currently you can see the text extraction and advanced HTML extraction is enabled. We do have custom extraction. So custom extraction feature in Search AI basically gives you the flexibility to extract and process the content from various sources in a way that meets your unique business needs. So if I talk about the text extraction or the advanced HTML extraction, they come up with their own guidelines and the predefined extraction rules, right? So in case if you want to like apply your own processing logic and extract content by analyzing the format of the document and structure of the data exactly as required, then you can use the custom extraction model, right? So what exactly happens here is that you would be using like you would be using a callback API. So once the data is processed, it is sent back. It's sent. Sorry, it's sent back to Search AI through a callback API. Search AI then indexes the content, making it making it easy for searching process and the retrieval process. Right. So the big advantage over this custom extraction is that organizations can write their own processing logic and initiate the extraction process which exactly fits their specific requirements, right? So here whatever the other extraction models, they come up with their own extraction rules, but with custom extraction you can use the from the custom APIs you can define your own processing logic, and based on the layout and the structure of the data, you can define your extraction rules and extract the chunks as required. Right. So currently for the HTML pages, we have the text extraction and the advanced HTML extraction available. So I found that within the masters and bachelors related pages that we have crawled, there is content within the tables and images as well. So I don't want to miss out extracting chunks from those elements of the document. So I would go with the advanced HTML extraction. Right. So once you select the advanced HTML extraction, this strategy uses the chunking method templates to define how the content should be broken down into chunks. So here we have two templates. One is general template. So when you select general template, it identifies various components and classes within an HTML document and extracts the tables and images along with the text, storing them as chunks. Right. So these chunks will be used later for retrieving the relevant information and generating the answers. So when I select general, so it would able to identify the different components of all the components and classes of the HTML elements and extract the chunks as it is, right? So the other template we have is the token based. So when you select token based in this approach, the chunks are created based on the token size configuration. So here you need to define how many number of maximum tokens to be present in each chunk, right? So maximum token size you can select, chunk size you can define is 5,000. By default we have 1,000, right? So for example, let's say, let me open a web page. So okay, so let's say I'm crawling through this web page, right? And when I say that the chunking method template for my web page is token based, and I have set my chunk value to 1,000, or let's say to 300, right? So if I set my chunk token value as 300, right? So what exactly it does is that it starts from, let's say this is where the content starts within my web page, right? Starting from here till 300 tokens, wherever it reaches to 300 tokens, that will be used for that particular 300 tokens will be the first chunk, right? So next set of 300 tokens will be your next chunk. So starting from here, let's say till here, if it reaches 300 tokens, because the maximum value you have given is 300. So any chunk with tokens, any value between 0 to 300 will be considered as a chunk, right? So starting from here till here, if it finds these are the 300 tokens, so basically 4 characters is considered as a single token, right? So in that way, if you find starting from here till here is the 300 tokens, this will be my first chunk, and the next set of from the next token from the next character, let's say till here it is 300 tokens, so this will be my second chunk. So starting from here, next 300 tokens, let's say till here it is the third chunk with 300 tokens. So this way you would have the chunks extracted based on the chunk token size you have defined. Now let's say there is a table within the HTML, right? So since you have advanced HTML extraction, you will be able to extract chunks from the table as well. uh, uh, Table as well. So now let's say the table has some 1,000 tokens, right? So based on the token size you have defined, so first 300 tokens within the table will be considered as my first chunk. Next 300 will be my second chunk. Next 300 will be my third chunk, and leftover are the 100 chunks. Let's say that is the only table you have within the page, right? And you need to extract chunk from that single HTML page. So first 300 tokens are considered as first 3 chunks, right? And we are left over with the 100 tokens. So the last 100 tokens will be considered as my fourth chunk. So 300 is nothing but the maximum number of token limit that you have given for a particular chunk size, right? So you can have a chunk with a lesser number of tokens if that chunk reaches to the last la like reaches to the last para of the page or last content of the page, right? So 300, like whatever the value you have set, is nothing but the maximum number of tokens to be present in each chunk. It's like a maximum limit, right? So that is the token size. So then we have the overlap. So overlap here is nothing but you are selecting the number of tokens that should overlap between the consecutive chunks. So here I have shown you that. So in the token based chunking, so it purely depends on the token size that you have defined. right? So once, let's say I have set it to 300, and based on the value I have set to 300, starting from here, it has abruptly ended over here. Just because the token limit, the chunk limit for the tokens has been, will be exceeded if it goes beyond it, right? And it cannot go beyond it as well. So the first chunk has started here, started from here and it ended here. And the second chunk has started from here and it has ended somewhere here because of the 300 size, 300 token size limit, right? So now if you observe the tokens, the chunks that are extracted over here are can abruptly end and abruptly start. So now in case if you want to maintain the continuity between the consecutive chunks, so you can have the overlap of the tokens between these chunks. So when I say chunk overlap to 20, or when I say the chunk overlap to 50, so what happens is the first chunk will be extracted with 300 tokens, right? When the second chunk is being created, it would take within 300, it would take first 50 tokens from the previous chunk. So from the first chunk, it will take first 50 chunks and next 250 chunks will be taken from the next set of content. So that will be your second chunk. When creating the third chunk, it will take first 50 tokens from the last 50 tokens of the second chunk, and next 250 tokens will be the continuation in the third chunk. All right. So that is how the chunk overlap works, and with which you are maintaining the continuity, like you are trying to overlap the tokens between the consecutive chunks, which actually gives you gives the continuity of the chunks. All right. So that is what the token based template. So you can define how exactly you want your extraction to be performed for the HTML pages, whether you want to go with the general where it identifies the classes and the layouts within the HTML page and extract the each and every section as it is as a chunk. Otherwise, if you want to go with the token base, you can select the token base and define the token size and the chunk overlap, right? So that is one extraction strategy, which is, so once you have defined your extraction strategies, you can save and confirm. So as and when you create a new strategy, that will be created within the sequence that will be placed on the top. Yes, Jyoti, if you have any questions, let me know.
Yeah, Soumya. So the web page you were sharing for the example of token-based extraction, can you go there? Yeah, this
Mhm.
page. Yeah,
Yes.
so if there are headings support that stays with you, and there was one more heading at the top. So while the chunking is happening from the token-based method, does it consider these heading as well? Like for example, we have 50 or 60 chunk as sorry, tokens as a chunk, and then the next chunk content when it is creating, does that heading will be getting included onto that next part or not?
So this heading you meant to ask?
Yeah.
Yes, yes, it will be considered.
So for example, this support that stays with you, it has this much of line, and from this much of line, it is getting divided into two chunks. Okay, so the both the chunk will have that heading or not?
So you won't get it as it is as a heading, right? So
Mm-hmm.
in case if it is segregating between two chunks, so it completely depends on how the token value you have defined. In case, let's say, with the 300 chunks, it has started from here, and let's say
Mm-hmm.
it ended in the first chunk, right? So in the
Hmm.
second chunk, so in case if you have added the overlap, so then it might consider the complete heading as the first set of tokens as per the overlap value you have defined, and next set of tokens will be considered with the next content.
Okay. Also, for example, let's say uh, the token size is 300 token, and
Mhm.
last line, this you will have access to 5 days a week. This is getting ended. So will it also go to the next heading, or it will end here? It will go to the next heading, correct?
See, the chunk, the value you have given is 300 tokens, right? For a particular
Mm-hmm.
chunk. So if this particular entire paragraph, let's say, is accommodating only 200 tokens in the chunk,
Hmm.
right? So next
Mm-hmm.
150 tokens will be considered from the
Okay.
next content. So my chunk is now combination of this para and 150 tokens from this para.
Okay. So it is not considering heading.
It is considering heading, right? So you would have the heading. This will also be taken into
No,
consideration.
not like that. So if my next heading is getting started, that doesn't depend whatever heading is getting starting. It will be purely based on the token, not on any
Yes, yes.
layout or anything.
No, no.
Okay.
If you want to maintain that, you can go with the general.
Yeah. Okay.
So when you go with the general, as I mentioned, it would understand the classes of the HTML. So it understands this is a heading and this is a paragraph. So because these are the classes that we must have used for creating this HTML page, right? So understanding the classes of the HTML page in the general template, it understands this is the heading and this is the paragraph. So this will be
Yeah.
considered as my single chunk. So then
Mhm.
this will be considered as my another chunk.
Okay.
That's how it works with the general. But based on the tokens based template, it purely goes with the token size that you have defined.
Okay. Okay. Thanks.
Yeah.
I have a question regarding also yesterday the tables and the Excel files.
Yes, yes.
It's probably more related to the content, but I'm not sure I understand how we can manage it.
Okay, I've just shown in the beginning, right? Like if you have it in the Excel file, so you can upload that to your third-party application and sync it via connectors.
Yes, but also with Google Drive that you showed, I didn't see in the documentation there was options for CSV and Excel.
Sorry, I didn't get you. Could you please repeat?
So you mentioned that we need to use the connectors and to upload it with some additional app and then read it from this connector, right?
Yes, yes.
Okay, but in Google Drive, the example that you showed us earlier, I didn't see that Excel is also a type that we can use. The
Okay.
documentation that you showed.
Okay, did you miss me miss me saying that particular part in the session is what you are
No,
trying to
I
understand?
was here. There was no question in this part, and I didn't want to interrupt. So
I'm really sorry. I'm not able to understand like what exactly your query is. Like,
so
do you want to? Yeah, please
we have
proceed.
we have tabular data in data tables that we usually use CSV files and Excel files, and I still don't understand how we can do it properly to get the data that we can use.
Okay, so you understood like how we can sync the data, but you didn't understand how we can use it for generating answers. Is that your question?
I understand how we can use sources for data. I just didn't see how we can do it with Excel and CSV files.
Okay, so maybe with the extraction, I would show you how you can use the data from the Excel files and create chunks out of it. All right. So by
Okay.
end this, you might be able to understand it. Okay, all right. So now so we have created an extraction strategy for the pages that we have crawled from one of the web crawls, right? So now let's say that I want to crawl through the content from the documents that we uploaded. All right. So here we have the documents that we uploaded, like the FAQs, the directories. So here we have uploaded some TNC, which are frequently asked questions within the bank, and then some mathematical formula PDF like or the booklet, which mostly had tabular content, right? So and along with that, we have a Phoenix document which has a combination of your table, like the textual content, and as well as you have the images, right? So, yeah, so this page is all about the questions, like the usual questions that we get within the bank. Let me show you. So this is the page we have, right? So these are some question and answers. So then I have shown you the booklet for mathematic formula that we uploaded, right? So yeah. So now let us try to create the extraction strategies to extract chunks from these documents, because you can see the layout of each and every document that we have uploaded is totally different. So here the bank TNC is full of textual content, right? And the mathematical formula is full of the tabular content, and the Phoenix document that we have uploaded is a combination of the tables, images, and the textual content, right? So now let's see how can you extract chunks from all these documents. So let's say I want to here I want to create a strategy. Bank FAQ strategy, right? So I've given a proper name and I will select the respective source. So here that FAQs strategy is present in my FAQs directory. So let me show that before. So here we have it. So this is where, and if you see in the JSON, so the name of the document is present in a field called file title, right? So to make sure that you are applying this particular strategy to this specific document, you need to mention that I want to apply this strategy to the document whose file title is bank TNC, right? So here, yeah. So let me go back to the extract. So the file I want to apply this strategy is present in FAQs directory, and we within FAQs directory we uploaded only PDF files. So you can see automatically what is the content time present in that particular source you have selected will be populated, right? So now I don't want to apply this particular strategy to all the files in the directory, but I want this to be applied to that particular file whose file title contains bank TNC, right? So now when I select PDF, so here it says that you can make use of the text extraction model or layout aware extraction model or markdown extraction or image based extraction. So for PDF type of content, you have these 4 extraction models available for you to select as the extraction model and extract chunks. So what are these 4 models? So we have already discussed what is text extraction. So let me tell about the other 3. So just by selecting the type of the content, you would able to sorry. Right? So here it will give you a hint of what are the extraction models that are supported. Otherwise, you can open the drop down and it will show you, it will enable the supported extraction models, right? So here text extraction, which we have already discussed. So here text extraction, it can be used only when you want to extract the chunks from the text elements of the document, right? So here the bank FAQs is available only in the textual content. So in this case, it is recommended for you to go with the text extraction. So what are the other extraction models that are supported for PDF files? So here we have layout aware extraction. So in Search AI, this strategy extracts the data by considering the layout and the structure of the content. All right. So instead of just looking at the text, the layout aware extraction analyzes the specific layout or format of the document and extract the chunks out of it. So this extraction model specifically uses the combination of the OCR, which is optical character recognition technology, a few layout detection models, and few layout awareness rules. So as I mentioned, all these extraction strategies comes with their own extraction rules, right? So this layout aware extraction follows OCR and few layout detection models and layout awareness rules. With the combination of all these rules and approaches, this model able to understand the layout and structure of the document and extract the chunks as is, right? So it can understand this is the tabular element of the tabular element in the document, and extract the entire table as a chunk. It understands this is the heading and the paragraph, so this is a section, and it extract the entire paragraph as a chunk. If you have an image, it extract the entire image as a chunk, right? So this way this model intelligently understands the layout of the document and extract chunks based on that particular layout, right? So with this approach, you can enhance the ability to understand the complex elements like the tables or graphs or charts, understand the differentiation between the textual element and these graphical elements, ensuring that the information from these elements are also accurately extracted and used for chunk extraction process. That is what the layout aware extraction. The other supported extraction model for the document for the PDF type is Markdown extraction. So in Markdown, so think of a method that converting each page of the PDF into a clean and structured format, specifically a Markdown. So basically, Markdown is nothing but a lightweight text formatting language that is great at preserving things like the headings or the list, bold or italic text, and the general structure of the page, right? So basically, this model this model segments the content into chunks by grouping the header with their corresponding paragraphs, right? So for example, let's say you have different sections of headings in a document. So first you have the heading 1, right, which is like a title. So within which you must have some within heading 1 you must have some paragraph. So then within this you have the heading 2, right? For this you must have some paragraph. Within heading 2, you might have some heading 3s. Let's say heading 3A. These are like subheadings, right? Heading 3B. And within this heading 3B, you might have some heading 4. Right? So this way you might have different sections of the document, right? So in this kind of documents, if you want to like ensure that the format of the document is cleanly maintained and structured, and you want to extract the chunks accordingly, you can go with the Markdown extraction model. So what exactly happens here is that each page in the PDF is analyzed and converted into Markdown, right? So how exactly it converts is that with a hashtag. So for first heading, it says hashtag, right? And this is its respective paragraph. So this will be considered its respective paragraph. In case within this heading, if it finds the subheading, which is like the second level of heading, so that will be marked down like this. And it understands that this is the heading and this is its respective paragraph. So within this, within the heading 2, if it has found the subheadings, so this will be my third level of paragraphs. So this will be marked accordingly. And it understands this is the third heading and this is its respective paragraph, and this is the second heading of third level, and this is the respective paragraph. And within this third heading, you have found another heading. So this will be marked down as the fourth heading, fourth level of heading, right? So basically, here this kind of conversion helps you to retain the semantic structure. In other words, what we can say is like how the content is organized and which part means what. Like what is like you basically try to distinguish that it is a title and it is a paragraph, right? So the heading will be considered as a title and the respective paragraph will be considered as a respective text, right? So this method is particularly effective for documents that are already structured well, like the articles or the reports or the manuals, right? So please make a note that this method is currently like supported only for the PDF type of the files. So if you have a structurally formatted documents and if you want to extract the chunks as is like the combination of the respective heading and the paragraph, then you can go with the markdown extraction. Right? So then we have the image-based document extraction. Now this method is bit more advanced and is used uh, when a document is not straightforward, like when it is in the while like in case if the document has forms or tables or some complex layouts that actually not ending up creating the well formatted chunks, right? So then in this case you can go with the image based extraction. So what happens here is that each page in the PDF is turned into an image. So this conversion ensures that the visual layout is preserved. So visual layout is nothing but how the things are exactly spaced or grouped in the pages. So few documents are just is segmented randomly and you have the blocks of data, right? So if it is not well organized, you might not have proper chunk extraction from those kind of documents. So in those cases, what you could do is you can create each and every page of the PDF as an image. And from that image, these images are then processed using VDRs, which is Visual Document Retrieval Embedding Model, right? So where it tries to understand both the textual content and the visual content from that particular image of the page, right? So in that case, basically you are trying to convert a page to an image, and from the image you are trying to understand the sections of that image and get the chunks out of it. All right. So with this model, it creates it creates a rich data representation that captures the meaning and layout of the page, right? And this document is also broken into standard chunks of the content, and each of those chunks includes a link to the image of the page because the page is converted into an image, right? So you would have a link to the image of that particular page that comes from the PDFs, right? I will show you the demonstration for each and every extraction. So I hope you understood like what each and every extraction model right now is. So layout aware, understand the layout and the structure of the document and extracts it. And markdown, where it segments the content by grouping the headers and its corresponding paragraphs and extract chunks. So here when you don't have a well organized or well structured documents, so then you can go with the image based extraction where it converts each page into an image chunk, right? So for this particular bank FAQ strategy, I have I have it like question as a heading and the respective answer as a paragraph. Let's say if that is how it has been defined. So I can go uh, Let me go with the markdown extraction. So here I can show you the sample. So now let's say this is the document, right? So this is the first level of heading, and within which you have the second level of heading, and this is the second level of heading, and within which you have the third levels of headings. So now if you see, this is the first level. So here it has marked down with one hashtag, which is the first level of heading, and this is the second hashtag, and you can see these are the third hashtag, the Apollo program and astronaut training. So with this markdowning, it marking down, so it understands that this is the first heading, and within which you have this sub content, and within the sub content this is the second level of heading, and this is the title, and this is the respective paragraph, and this is the second level of second heading in the second level, and within which you have third level of headings. For this third level of heading, this is the paragraph, and this is third level of heading, this is the paragraph. So this way it creates the chunks for each and every page after marking down, right? So let's save it. I will show you each and every extraction. So now let's say I want to create a strategy for maths formula, and which is present in FAQs directory and PDF. The title of the file contains maths as a keyword, right? So here I want to preserve the tabular format of my each and every table I have in my booklet. So to go with the layout of my document, I can go with the layout aware extraction. So here I'll show you how exactly the general template looks like. So the entire table will be considered as a single chunk. This particular paragraph is a single chunk, and all the green boxes it basically adheres to the layout of the document and extract the chunks accordingly, right? So I want to preserve the layout of my tabular format in the booklet. So I have gone with the layout aware extraction and choose the method accordingly and save the strategy. So now let's say Phoenix strategy. So this I want to use for Phoenix document. So that is the only document I have in my default directory. So here it is a combination of images, textual content, and the tables and so on, and it is well structured, right? So for this particular document, like the Phoenix document, you can go with the layout aware because it is already well structured. So it can able to extract the chunks based on that as well. Otherwise, in case if you find that it is not well structured or organized and you want the chunks to be extracted from those elements, what I can do is I can create an image from each and every page of my document and extract chunks out of it, right? Like extract those image chunks where I can understand what exactly I have in the each and every page of the chunk, and generating embeddings from those images it can able to understand the visual and the textual content as well, right? So I will select image based document extraction for this particular document. Otherwise, I can go with the layout aware extraction as well. Just to show you the outputs for each and every extraction, I have chosen the various extraction, like different extraction model for the different documents. So now click on save. All right. So this way we have defined our own extraction strategies for each and every source that we have ingested, right? So now where exactly this default extraction strategy will be taken into consideration. So now if you have observed within the websites, we have defined the extraction strategy for the master's bachelor's crawl, but not for upload crawl. And even we have ingested an XLS file from the connector, but we did not specifically explicitly define any extraction strategy. But it is important for us to extract chunks from those sources as well, which are not explicitly defined with any extraction strategies, right? So in those cases where there is no extraction strategy defined for the specific source, the chunks from those sources will be extracted with the help of the default strategy. So that is why you can see the default strategy is defined for all sources and all types of the files. So there is no specific file source restriction or the file restriction. So here, if you see, this is for this strategy only for the documents in the default directory, and this is only for the FAQs directory, and this is only for a specific masters and bachelor scroll, right? But here, the default strategy, maybe you might not have created a strategy for the sources from the web pages and the connectors, like in this case. So you need to extract the chunks from the HTML pages as well as the Excel uh, files. So that's why the default strategy is compatible to extract chunks from any type of the source and any type of the file. And the model it follows is the text extraction. All right. So the default strategy cannot be edited or deleted. So you cannot change the extraction model of the default strategy, but you can do the advanced settings. Like you can define the chunk size. By default, the chunk size is set to 1000 tokens and overlap to 100 tokens. But you can define the chunk to be created each page as a single chunk as well. All right, this editing you can do, you can add some additional filters as well, but you cannot change the text extraction model to any other extraction model. So it is very important for you to check if you are going with the default strategy for any of those sources, and if those sources contains the content in the form of the images or the tables, you will not have the chunks extracted, and you might end up losing the content in the chunks from those elements of the documents, right? So in case if you have a specific layout or the specific format of the document, make sure you create your own extraction strategy based on the type of the content. Otherwise, by default, it goes with the default strategy and extract the chunks. All right. So is this clear till here? Any queries so far? I will show you how the chunks will be extracted. Okay, so once you have defined your own extraction strategy, you need to manually initiate the training to the application. So based on the strategies that you have defined, it would sequentially create the like apply these strategies and extract the chunks based on the sources and the file types you selected. In case if you have created multiple strategies on the same source, whichever that is placed on the top will be applied. So for example, let's say for the Phoenix document, I have defined the image-based document extraction as well as the layout aware extraction. So whichever is placed in the first in the sequence, only that extraction strategy will be applied. Right? So let me train the app. All right. So once you train the app, you can see how the chunks are extracted in the browse section. So go to browse section. Um, let me check once. Why is this failing?
Uh, I guess we need to enable model to proceed with extract
Which model?
from the GenAI feature.
No. For extraction, we
For
don't
the
have.
image-based extraction, I guess there was some model.
No, that will be done automatically in the vector configuration. So that's why I've checked there as well. I think some issue enhance. So when you enable the image-based extraction document extraction here, it will be automatically the embedding model will be enabled here. I'm not sure. Okay, let me check with the another app. This is another pre-configured app, right? So where we have the same content already ingested. So we have the bank FAQs, the Phoenix upload. Let me upload. So we have 3 documents. Okay. So we have two documents in this, and we are we have initiated a website web crawl, so that would complete in a while. So and we have the Excel file within the connectors, right? So let me show you the extraction strategies I have created. So here we have the markdown strategy for the default directory that contains. Right, so we have the markdown strategy. Then we have another strategy where I want to apply the image-based document extraction for the Phoenix document, and we have another extraction for Excel files. Right, like the Excel file we have ingested from, like, synced from the third-party application to the Search application. Right, so this I have selected. So when I train the app, and you can find the chunks extracted under the browse section. All right. So here, if you observe, we have the chunks extracted from all the files that we have defined for the extraction strategy with the extraction strategy. Here, these two chunks are from the bank FAQ PDF. So bank FAQ PDF is nothing but a question answer pair, where question I have created as a heading and answer as a respective paragraph, right? So now if you observe in the details, go in the details, you could find the chunk summary. Now, if you go within the JSON, I'll just show you. So this is the question: how frequently is account information updated? So that is marked with hashtag, right? And the respective answer is not marked with anything, just that it has been considered as its respective paragraph for this particular question. So now, what is the difference between actual balance and the available balance? This is being created as a heading. You have seen the PDF, right? So that is marked down with the like that has been marked down. So every title and the respective paragraph. So this is how it will able to understand the structure and try to create the chunk corresponding to the title and the content of the paragraph of the document, paragraphs in the document, right? So this is how it marks down and creates the creates the corresponding combination of the title and the paragraph and consider them as a single entity, right? So here, if you open any of the details, like click on details of any of the chunks, you will have the complete information of that particular chunk, right? So here, record title is nothing but the name of the page, so name of that particular document. So in case if you have any chunk title, that chunk title will be considered over here. So here you can see the chunk text. So this is the question and this is the respective answer, right? So next you can see this is the question and this is the respective answer. So next, will I be able to transfer funds? That is the question and answer. That's how it has been marked down, right? So here, from which page number it has been extracted within the PDFs, you have multiple pages, right? So this is page number 2. So where is the source name? So this is residing in the default directory. And what is the type of the source? It is a file. And which strategy you have used? Markdown strategy. You can get the same details in the JSON view as well, right? So this is how the markdown works. So now I have applied the image-based extraction for the Phoenix upload document, right? So in the Phoenix upload document, if you have remembered what exactly we have in it. So this is an image. So this is my first page, this is my second page, and this is my third page. So it's a combination of the tables, images, and the textual content. So when I created the extraction strategy as image-based document extraction for the Phoenix upload, you can see the chunks extracted from those documents as image of each page. So if I click on this particular image, you can see this is the first page of my document. So this would be considered as my first chunk. So this is the second page, right? So this is my second page. So this is entirely my second page. And this is my third page. So here, each and every page has been created as an image, and that is considered as a chunk. So from this particular image, you would be able to understand the you would be able to understand the content, and here you have the chunk text extracted. So here you can see this is the heading, and this is the respective paragraph, and this is the heading, and this is the respective paragraph for it, and collaboration respective paragraph, and so on, right? So within the view details as well, you can see the entire details. So in the chunk viewer, if I open, you can see the record title, and this is the chunk text, the chunk ID, from which page number, what is the source name, what is the type of the file, what is the source type, and which extraction strategy, like the extraction strategy name you have used, and then so on. So here in Vue.json, you can see image extraction is the extraction method you have used. And the name of the extraction strategy you have given is the strategy 2. All right. So then you have the connect for created an extraction strategy for the Excel file, right? So for Excel files, only the text extraction model and the custom extraction is available. So I have chosen the text extraction model, and if you go in the details, you can see the chunk. The entire data has been considered as a chunk. So I'll just show you what data we have in it. So this is the Excel file. I have synced from the third-party application to the Search application. And then I've tried to extract chunk from these documents. So the entire data is considered in a single chunk. So here it might not be able to show, it might not be shown as a tabular format, but you would have the chunk created, and you will be able to generate answer from these documents, right? So if I open Vue.json, so here you can see the chunk text. All right, so let me check. I think there is some issue with the training, I guess, the ingestion and the training. So that is all about the extraction. So once the extraction is done, you can define the transform stage, where it is an optional step from where you can clean, organize, or enrich your data as needed. So let me give you a quick example here. So when you are crawling a blog website, so there could be some non-essential elements like the ads or the recent posts, or some embedded information that is not really required for you to be considered as part of your chunk extraction from that ingested content. Maybe it's because it might introduce some noise or noise or noise information, and also you want to reduce the content, and also it might reduce the content clarity for the search operations moving forward, right? So in those cases, you can like in these type of issues can be addressed through the post extraction transformations. So here you can add 3 types of the stages, like the field mapping, custom script, exclude documents, and API stage. So by adding these stages, you can remove the redundant sections, like you can take off the irrelevant elements like the ads or the recent posts, or you want to focus mainly on the blog section or the body of that blog page, right? Otherwise, if you want to map the author information, like you want to extract the author name from the content and move it to a specific dedicated meta field for better content structure. These kind of the transformations that you can carry out in these stages. So here field mapping stage is something which lets you map the fields from a new field to the existing field. So something like, let's say a particular page you have crawled has no title. So then what you could do is you can assign a title to that particular page, saying, let's say, if page URL, let's say you have found that the URLs that you have if the pages that you have crawled with masters, you found that there is no title for those pages, what you can do is I can set a value to a specific field, or I can delete the existing field, or copy a value from a existing field to a new field, right? So you can basically customize how exactly you want your data, like pages to be enriched or organized, or like how you want your pages to be organized or enriched as needed, right? So I would write like page title, master's course, master's degree. So this way I can write. So what I'm trying to do here is that post transformation, if a particular page, post extraction, if I find that a particular page doesn't have the title, I can make use of the field mapping transformation stage to map the values. Next, we have the custom extraction stage. So with which you have the more flexibility to write your own JavaScript to update the document any way you want, right? Something like if you want to prepend the title or append the title with a specific name of a specific document, you can write your own JavaScripting and have the customizations done on your documents, right? Or else if you want to add some other name to the respective blog, let's say a blog is related to women, a blog is related to the scholarship, and another blog is related to some student career guides, right? So based on the topic, you want to assign a author name. So for those metadata, adding metadata information, you can make use of the custom scripting. Then you have the exclude document stage, which helps you to filter out the irrelevant content before even sending that to the vectorization, right? So maybe like you don't want a specific set of documents to be considered for vector, like from the extraction process, or you don't want to take it forward for the next set of stages, right? So then you can make use of the exclude documents and say, like, if the page title contains masters. So from there, when you have this, we will not be considering the chunks extracted from those documents which are extracted from the master's related degree, right? So then we have the API. The last stage we have is the API stage, which allows you to invoke an external API to modify, enrich, or analyze the content during the transformation stage, right? So when this API stage is configured, the system sends the content to the specified external API, and the transformed content received in the API response can be saved in any of the context field. So basically, you are making use of some external APIs for the transformation instead of using the existing stages. Based on your own customizations, custom models, you can use the API stage and use the external APIs for the transformation process, right? So one thing you need to note is that this particular transform stage, which is an optional step, is currently available or supported only for the extraction models that are text extraction or the advanced HTML. All right. So this is a pro feature. Again, the transform stage is a pro feature, and that will be available only in the enterprise workspace. All right. Any queries still here? So you can define your own extraction strategy and generate the chunks. Okay, I think there is some issue with the training currently. Maybe some updates are going on. All right. So once the extraction is done and you can view the extracted chunks under the browse section, once you have created the chunks, you need to convert them into the chunk vector embeddings. That is our next step, which is transformation, right? So to do this, go to the index tab and choose the vector embedding model and the fields on which you want to create the chunk vectors. Right? So here you need to define the vector model and you need to define on what source fields of the chunks you want the chunk vectors to be generated. So here we have four vector models available. One is MPNet, LABSC, E5, BG, M3 embedding models. So just to give you a short intro on each and every embedding model. So MPNet can be used for short text and fast processing kind of documents, something like the FAQ or minimal or simple documents, document processing. You can go with the MPNet. Like you don't have huge manuals or records kind of thing, but it's a simple document and you want to generate chunks out of those simple and fast processing content, then you can go with the MPNet. So LABSC is something is an embedding model that you need to use when you are working with the multilingual or the cross-lingual documents. When you want to perform product search across multiple languages, then you need to go with the LABSC embedding models because it needs to create the chunk vectors on chunks derived from different languages, the content from multiple languages. So then E5 embedding model can be used for the long document retrieval, where you might need to extract relevant sections for a given query. You want to extract or retrieve the relevant sections from a huge, let's say, research manuals or research documents or the legal documents. So when you are working on the long document retrievals, then you can go with the E5 embedding model. So then BGE M3 can be used for again general purpose and the multilingual tasks. So for any time you are going with multiple languages and you want to perform search on it, it is recommended to create chunks with the LABSC embedding model or the BGE M3 embedding model, right? So you choose the vector model accordingly and you need to choose the source fields. So source fields are nothing but if you go to the browse, so for each and every chunk you have some specific set of fields, right? So record title, chunk text. If you go to Vue.json, you can see everything that is represented in red color. So these are the chunk fields. So you need to choose those chunk fields wisely, so that the content within those chunk fields, whatever you have chosen for the vector generation, will be used to create vectors on top of that, right? So it is always recommended to choose those chunk fields which are more relevant and more richer in data, so that it will result in the embeddings with the richer data, which in turn leads to the better answers for the given query, right? So if you create the chunk vectors with no information, or on the fields which has not much information. For the given query, when you like in the data flow we discussed that when you send a query, the query will be converted to the query vector, and you try to find the semantic similarity between the query vector and each chunk vector. Semantic similarity is nothing but how relevant the content in the chunk is to the given user query. So that relevance between the query and the chunk is based on the content that we have in the source field we have chosen for the vector generation, right? Let's say I have given something like the chunk type as the field for the vector generation. So there is nothing to do with the chunk type to find the relevance between the chunk and the given query. So I need to know, if I need to know what is the interest rate for a student loan with the chunk type, what would I do? Right? It will not give any like relevant information to check whether this particular chunk is relevant to the given query or not. Maybe if I go with the chunk text, so this is where I might have some important information related to the student loan, otherwise in next chunk, right? So this way you need to choose wisely which fields to be used, which fields to be selected for the vector generation, right? So maybe if I talk about okay, we don't have the website scrolled, right? Okay, so we have websites. Okay, so if I've created chunks from the web pages, content from the web pages. So within the web page, for the web pages, we have the web page title and the web URL. So if I've chosen those fields, so if some user asks something related to the masters with the page title and the page URL, it would make me understand that it is related to the masters or the bachelors, right? So you need to choose which fields to be selected for the vector generation, and select those fields which provide some content to understand the relevance between the query and the chunk during the retrieval process, right? So the training is successful. Let me go back to browse. Yeah, so now you can see HTML, advanced HTML extraction is something I have used. So where the heading, like there was a question, if you have a paragraph within the HTML page, will that, sorry, if you have a heading and the paragraph, will that heading be considered during the extraction process? If you go with the general, so that heading will be considered as a chunk title and respective paragraph will be considered as the chunk text, right? So here you can see within the Vue.json, chunk text is nothing but the text from the uh, uh, page. Chunk title is nothing but the title of the page, and you have the record URL, which gives you the URL of the page, right? And also the record title. So this way you find those fields which actually gives you the relevant information, which actually provides you the richer information to find the relevance between user query and the chunk uh, data in the retrieval process, right? So I would select my chunk title, chunk text, record title, record URL, and in case if you have added any other metadata information through the transformation stages, you can use those fields as well, right? So in the vector configuration, after choosing the vector model, you need to choose the source fields. So by default, chunk title and chunk text will be added and they cannot be removed. You have the source name also. Source name is nothing but the name you would give for the source, like while initiating the web crawl or for the file upload, you have the source names assigned, right? You have defined the source names. So if you don't want the source name to be considered as part of the field, you can remove it. So instead of the record title, if you want anything else, you can choose that. Let's say If you want anything else, you can use those fields as well, right? Let's say I would go with record URL. Instead of record title, I would go with, instead of source name, I would go with the record URL, right? So then we have the image-based embedding over here. So this image-based embedding will be enabled only when you assign, only when you define a image-based document extraction in the extract tab, right? So you need to select this embedding model which is used to convert image into the embeddings. So here, whatever the embedding model that you are using, that is to convert whatever the chunk data to the chunk vectors. But here you have converted your your PDF pages to the images. From those images, you need to convert the embeddings, right? So to create the embeddings on the image content, you need to make use of the VDR embedding model over here, which will be automatically enabled and selected when you define the image-based document extraction in the extract tab, right? So one point to be noted over here is that the vector configuration feature is enabled for Search AI in the Search AI configurations because of a default configuration. You go with the generative AI features. In the generative AI features, you could see the vector generation is enabled, right? So the vector generation, this comes by default. Any app you create on the platform, this vector generation comes by default, and you can see this vector generation is for generating embedding for the ingested data and the answers module. Answers module is nothing but the Search AI and also user query. So as I mentioned, even when user sends a query, the user query will be converted to the query vector, right? So whichever embedding model you have used, that will take the responsibility to convert the chunk to the chunk vectors and user query to the user query vector to answer the end user queries at the runtime, right? So if you need to have this feature enabled only when you can able to generate the chunk vectors for the given query, for the extracted chunks, right? So once you have defined your details for the vector model and the source fields, train the app. So choose the source fields wisely. Choose those fields which are richer in data or which give some important information on which you can find the relevance between the relevant information between the chunks and the given query. And when you select the source fields, the set of all the source fields will be considered from each chunk, right? Like the data from all these source fields will be considered from each chunk, and a chunk vector will be generated on each chunk. Something like you would consider the chunk title, text, record title, and record URL from the first chunk and generate a chunk vector. Similarly, consider the data from these 4 fields from the second chunk and generate a chunk vector. So this way you would have the chunk vectors generated for each and every chunk. And even the sequence of the fields that you have defined over here will take a part in creating the chunk vectors, right? So any changes you make, please make sure that any changes you make within the index tab, make sure you train the app, right? So if you make any changes in the content section, the app will be auto trained. It will automatically initiate the train. In case if you have made some changes in the extract tab, like you have added new extraction strategies or edited existing one, or you have disabled it, or like in the extract tab, for any extraction strategy you have defined, you can delete or disable it, right? You cannot do the same with the default strategy. So any changes you make in the extract tab, or you can also edit the chunks. You can edit the chunk title and the chunk text. These two are editable, not everything else. So these two are editable in case if you have edited the chunks, right? Or you have made some you have made some changes in the vector configuration, like you switched between vector models, like from BG to something else, or you have edited the source fields, right? You have added new source fields, or you have deleted the existing one. Make sure that you train the app whenever you make some changes in the index tab. So if you make some changes in the content, the application would take care of auto training it. But in the index tab, it is very, very important to manually train the app. Use the train button from the extract tab or from the vector configuration tab. All right. So this is all about the transformation stage. We have discussed the ingestion, we have discussed the extraction, and we have discussed the transformation. Any queries still here? Okay, all right. So now, so till now we have seen the process of how the data is ingested, chunks are extracted, and the chunk vectors are created and indexed, right? So now for a given user query, the relevant chunks must be retrieved and answer must be generated. So now we will see how the retrieval configurations to be defined and how the answer configurations to be defined. Right. So the efficiency of the responses depends on the chunk retrieval method and the answer generation configurations that you are going to define. So let's start with the retrieval configurations. Here, go to the retrieval tab under responses. This is where you need to define which retrieval model, like retrieval strategy, you want to go with for finding the relevant chunks for the given user query. Right? As I mentioned in yesterday's data flow section, so there are two retrieval strategies. One is the vector retrieval and the one is the hybrid retrieval, where in vector retrieval, it tries to find the semantic similarity between the user query and the content. And in the hybrid retrieval, it finds the similarity between the, it finds the semantic similarity as well as the keyword match. Right? So choose whichever retrieval strategy that is more suitable for your business use case. Right? So if you observe in the vector retrieval, it finds the results based on meaning of the words, not just exact match. As I mentioned, it finds the semantic similarity. Semantic similarity is nothing but how relevant the context within the chunk to the given user query. It doesn't purely rely on the keyword match, right? So in the vector retrieval, so that is the main principle of the vector retrieval, where it tries to find the relevant chunks based on the meaning of the words in those chunk data or relevant to the user query, rather than uh, trying to find the exact match between the words. Right? So the vector retrieval works well if the question is complex or user uses synonyms. So for example, let's say you have trained the app with types of the loans, and one of the loans is home loan or housing loan. If the user comes and asks a query like, I want to apply loan for my property. So housing loan is something could be relevant to the property loan or residential loan or home loan or even for the personal loan. Right? So based on the user's query, it needs to understand what is the context that the user is trying to ask. And if the user is asking the query with the synonyms of the data that you have trained your application with, your assistant should be able to understand what user's intent is actually for. It's just because user asks something like residential loan, if the assistant is trained with some property loan, you have trained the assistant with the content related as a property loan, but both remains the same, right? So you can go with the vector retrieval when you want to make sure that you want to understand the complex queries from the users, or you might expect users to ask queries with the synonyms that you follow in your business use cases. Right? And also, if you want to handle search in different languages, then it is good to go with the vector retrieval. So you need to choose between one. So these are the different use cases where you can choose the vector retrieval. And also, vector retrieval works best if you have high quality language models or the embeddings. So because it mostly relies on the semantic similarity to find the relevant chunks or retrieve those chunks, you can go with the vector retrieval in those cases. Coming to the hybrid retrieval, you know that hybrid retrieval combines the keyword match for the exact terms and also vector search for the meaning, match with the meaning. Right? So when you want to imply the strengths of both these strategies, like both these techniques, like keyword match as well as the semantic match, then you can go with the hybrid retrieval. So with the hybrid retrieval, it ensures the results are both accurate and relevant. And where exactly you can go with the hybrid retrieval is that it is good for those businesses with specific terms, because it matches the exact words while also understanding the context. So for example, let's say in a medical organization, so you would have a specific keywords and the fixed keyword for a particular composition or a particular medicine, right? So you don't have synonyms to that particular medicine or synonyms to the particular disease. So if user comes something and ask a query like, I want to know more details about amnesia, so there is no synonym for for that specific disease or a specific uh, problem that the user has come with. So you want to have the exact keyword match what exactly user is asking, and you want to find the exact relevant data from for that uh, specific problem or specific concern, right? So when you want to have when you are working in these kind of industries where the importance to the keywords is higher, and you want to find the exact keyword match along with finding understanding what user is trying to ask, where you supposed to understand the meaning and understand the context. When you want to leverage like when you want to imply the strengths of both keyword match and context understanding, then you can go with the hybrid retrieval, right? So choose the query choose the retrieval strategy based on the use cases that you're working on. And once you choose the retrieval strategy, you need to define the qualification criteria, right? So here you need to configure these parameters where to filter the retrieval chunks and obtain a list of the qualified chunks. So now with the retrieval strategy you have defined, you would have some set of chunks that are retrieved, right? And these retrieved chunks would come up uh, would be retrieved with a specific score. As I mentioned, in vector retrieval you would have a vector score or the similarity score, right? uh, or semantic score. So these are the various terminologies that you refer to that particular score. And if you come with the hybrid retrieval, you would have the hybrid score, which is a combination of the semantic similarity score and the keyword score, right? So now each chunk will be retrieved with a specific score. Let's say yeah. Okay. So now let's say we have the chunks retrieved with this score. So 92 is nothing but 92% the chunk retrieved is similar to the given user query, and 89 is 18 the chunk retrieved is 89% similar to the given query. And here it is, this chunk retrieved is 36% relevant to the given query, right? So this way you have retrieved the specific set of chunks from the knowledge base for the given query, and these are the scores for each chunk, right? So now you want to make sure that whatever the chunks that I want to use further for the answer generation process, they must be similar, a minimum, like they must contain minimum similarity of 60% between the query and the content in the chunk, right? So I don't want to consider those chunks which are not uh, more than 60% similar. So then what I could say, what I could do is I can configure the minimum similarity score threshold. Like I can set a similarity score threshold by setting it to 60. Say now, what exactly here I have configured is that minimum similarity I expect between the query and the content in the chunk that has been retrieved. right? So basically similarity score threshold is nothing but minimum expected score of the match between the user query and the expected chunk. So this way I can make sure that from the retrieved set of chunks, I want to consider those chunks whose score is below 60. So this way I can make sure that whatever the chunks I'm going to use further for the answer generation process are at least 60% similar for the given query, right? So you have retrieved the chunk which is 15% similar. So I found that there is no point of using such chunks which are just 15% similar for the given query. So maybe just 15% of the content in the chunk is a little relevant and which might not be much helpful for me to generate an answer, right? Or to be considered for answer generation process. So then I want to put a threshold saying that I want only those chunks which are at least 60% and above. So that threshold you can set under similarity score threshold. So from these retrieved chunks, only those chunks whose score is more than, like, which have been retrieved with score more than 60 will be considered for answer generation. So only these chunks will be now considered as qualified chunks. So only qualified chunks will be considered for the answer generation. Not all retrieved chunks will be considered for all answer generation. Based on the similarity score threshold you have set, the chunks will be qualified and those list of qualified chunks will be used further for answer generation process, right? So then as a second level of qualification criteria that you might need to set, you can set the proximity threshold. So here you try to find like here the threshold you define determines how close the qualifying chunk should be to the highest ranking chunk, right? So with reference to the top qualified chunk, so this is my top qualified chunk, right? So with reference to this qualified chunk, how do you want to further filter out the qualified chunks or retrieved chunks? So let's say I want only those chunks which are 20 like who uh, like where the difference between the uh, chunk score different between the chunk score to the top qualified chunk is not more than 20. Like you are trying to find the proximity between the other chunks with the top qualified chunk. So I want to consider only those chunks if the difference between that particular chunk and the top qualified chunk is not more than 20. If it is more than 20, I don't want to consider those chunks. So I'm trying to find the most nearest chunk for the given user query, given most nearest chunk to the top qualified chunk by setting the proximity threshold. So if I enable and set 20, so here it is nothing but the maximum difference that you are allowing in the similarity scores between the top qualified chunk and the other chunks. So for example, let's say this chunk, this is the top qualified chunk, that is 92. So 92 minus 20 is 72. So only those chunks whose score is more than 72 will be considered as the qualified chunks now for the answer generation. Because if I go with this chunk, right, this is a qualified chunk. But with the proximity threshold, if I consider this particular chunk, the difference between 92 and 70 is 22, which is exceeding the proximity threshold I have set. All right. So I'm just trying to consider only those chunks where the difference between the chunk score and the top qualified chunk score is not exceeding 20. So if I set it to 30, so I'm not allowing any chunks whose difference in the similarity scores is beyond 30. Right? So that is the proximity threshold where you try to determine how close the qualified chunks to the top ranked chunks. All right. So this you can enable or disable and set the qualification criteria with the similarity score threshold as required and choose the retrieval strategy, however, whichever that is required as per the business use case you are working around. All right. So these are the retrieval configurations. Any queries still here? Okay. Next, you need to define the answer configuration. So where you can define which type of answer to be displayed to the user, right? And what are the, in case if you want to go with the configure and make use of an LLM. So how do you define, so you need to configure the LLM and send a prompt to LLM so that LLM would generate an answer from this retrieval chunks, right? So those configurations you can define under answer configuration tab. All right. So in this answer configuration section, you can configure the type of answer to be presented to the user. So here we have two types of the answers that you can configure. One is extractive answer and the generative answer. So extractive answers are independent of LLM. So you need not to make use of the LLM for generating an extractive answer. So when you select extractive answer as a type of the answer to be generated to the user, the topmost chunk that is qualified for a given user query is directly presented to the user as an answer, right? So these extractive answers display the chunk data as it is without any change in the text. So here, let's say when I select extractive answer, and when here you, so after retrieval, like after the retrieval, by end of the retrieval process, you have some set of qualified chunks. In the set of the qualified chunks, whichever is the top qualified chunk. So chunk is nothing but a snippet that you have extracted from the source document, right? So that data will be like the data from the top qualified chunk will be displayed as it is as an answer to the given user query, and that is what an extractive answer is. So you can see it is nothing but exact span of text as it is in the source document. The top chunk is presented to the user, right? So here you need not to define any, here you need not to configure any LLM for the answer generation process, right? So the other type of the answer that you can configure is the generative answers. In this model, Search AI uses third-party LLMs to paraphrase the answer snippets, right? So the top qualified chunks that are most relevant to the given user query and which are being retrieved, not all the retrieved chunks, the top qualified chunks from the retrieved chunks, whatever the top qualified chunks that have passed the qualification criteria you have set in the retrieval configurations, those chunks will be sent to LLM for the answer generation for the given user query. right? So when a user asks a query, the answer is generated from these retrieved and qualified chunks and is paraphrased using LLM. So that response will be displayed as an answer to the given user query in the runtime. All right. So as a prerequisite, in case if you need to make use of the generative answers, right? So you need to have do two configurations. First one, you need to configure an LLM, right? So which LLM do you want to use for the answer generation? Then you need to enable the answer generation feature. So once you have configured the LLM, on with the help of which LLM do you want to proceed for the answer generation, you need to enable that feature, right? So for that, go to the generative AI tools. Under models library, you can define your you can configure your LLM. So currently we have OpenAI, Anthropic, Azure OpenAI, and Amazon Bedrock. In case if you want, you can, if you have your own LLM, you can configure that with the help of the custom integration, right? I have OpenAI key. I have configured the OpenAI where it supports 3.544 Turbo 404 Mini. Right? So now once I have configured OpenAI with these supported models, go to the Gen AI features. Like you basically configure one of the LLMs, then you go to the answer generation, and here you select which model you want to be used for the answer generation, right? So you can so every model comes with their own flexibilities, like own features. Something like 3.5 is can be used, like 3.5 turbo can be used for simple fast responses in simple conversations or the queries. 4 can be for more refined answers for across wide range of topics. 4 turbo can be for fast and accurate answers in real-time applications. Then we have 4 Turbo Mini, which can be used, 4O multi-model can be used for text and image understanding, right? In case if you need to generate answers and like process the content with from the text and images and then generate answers, then you can go with the GPT-4o models. So each model comes with their own capabilities. So based on how the interaction going to be, you choose the respective model. So here I would go with the 4O and enable the status, right? So if you have remembered in the data flow, I have mentioned that we have a prompt library which comes with the default, which has a predefined set of prompts. Prompts are nothing but a set of guidelines that we set to LLM to follow and work accordingly, right? So here we have two default prompts for the answer generation. So here there is a second version of the default prompt for the answer generation, which is compatible with both voice and chat conversations. So there is a default prompt which is for textual conversations, right? So you can choose one of the default prompts. I will show you how exactly the prompt has been built in a while. So here, in case if you want to create your own prompt, you can add your own prompt, how you want your LLM to behave when it receives the chunk content and the query, and how you want the answer to be generated. You can write your own prompt as well. Otherwise, by default, there is a default prompt given and set for the answer generation. You can choose that, right? So to have the answer generated, to have the generative answers displayed to the user, first step is to configure an LLM under models library and enable the answer generation feature with the selected model under generative AI features, right? So once this is done, go back to the answer configuration. And here you need to define the content configurations. So once the chunks are qualified and retrieved, once the chunks are retrieved and qualified, they need to be sent to LLM. So here I have just taken a smaller example where I think just 9 chunks are qualified. But in real-time scenarios, there could be situations like where some 30 chunks qualified, right? So based on the LLM that you have configured and the context of the LLM, you need to accommodate the chunks and then only send those chunks to LLM. If I talk about mm, yeah, so if I talk about, let's say I have 3.5 turbo. If I've chosen the LLM I want to use to generate an answer, I have chosen 3.5 turbo as the model. So this LLM comes with 4096 token size limit. Like the context window for that particular LLM model is that 4096 tokens. It can accommodate only 4096, right? So if you have remembered, for LLM, for generating an answer to LLM, we would send instructions, right? We need to send the chunks, we need to send the user query, and LLM would also generate an answer. That also needs to be accommodated, right? So all these needs to be accommodated in this context window that the LLM comes with, right? So by default, the prompt and the query, let's say they take 500 tokens. So out of 4096 tokens, if the prompt and query takes 500 tokens, and let's say the answer to be generated, how many tokens? Like you want the answer to be generated with 500, maximum of 500 tokens. So you are left with 3096 tokens only to accommodate chunks. All right. So now whatever the chunks you have extracted, you might be, let's say you have gone with token based chunk extraction, where you defined each chunk with 500 token size, or let's say maximum, whatever the chunks that are extracted, right? Maximum they have 500 tokens in each chunk. So that way, to accommodate within the 3096 leftover context window, you can accommodate only 6 chunks. Let's say you have 20 qualified chunks. Within that, each chunk that has been qualified is of size 500. So in this leftover context window, you can accommodate only 6 chunks. All right. So you need to set your chunk token size, so like token budget for chunks, in this parameter, right? So here you will be setting the maximum tokens where maximum tokens for the qualified chunks that needs to be sent to LLM. So for example, let's say you want only top 3 chunks to be sent to LLM. You have 3096 as the context window, so within which maximum of 6 top 6 qualified chunks can be accommodated. But in case if you want only top 3 chunks to be sent to LLM, you don't want 4th, 5th, and rest of the chunks to be sent to LLM. You want only top 3 chunks to be sent to LLM. You have that context window left with 3096, and you want only top 3 chunks to be sent to LLM, and each chunk is 500 in size. So top 3 chunks means 1500. So you can set this parameter to 1500. So only top 3 chunks will be sent to LLM. So with a grace value, you can set it to some 2000. So whichever has been like whatever the chunks that can be accommodated within this context, like within the token budget you have defined, that will be sent to LLM, right? So this token budget for the chunks completely depend on the LLM model that you have that you are using for generating the answer, right? So instead of sending the chunks, you can send the entire document to the LLM for the answer generation, right? So when I enable, so you can enable the document level processing. So where you can send the complete documents to the LLM along with the shortlisted chunks, like along with the qualified chunks. So when you enable this setting, it allows the entire documents to be sent to LLM instead of the individual chunks. So it is especially useful when relevant information is spread across multiple chunks. So relying only on specific set of chunks might have some missing information to be sent to LLM. So instead, when you enable this, Search AI identifies the documents linked to the most relevant chunks or the qualified chunks and send the full content from the document to the LLM. But that to be in a specified token limit. So this token limit again depends on the context window of the LLM that you are using. Right? So with this setting, it helps to preserve the context and also improves the quality of the responses for the given query from the complex topics or the complex sections of the documents. All right. So along with once you have set the content configurations, like whether you want to send the tokens, whether you want to send chunks to the chunks to the LLM, or you want to send the documents to the LLM, you can decide and set the what we say, like set the token budget accordingly. So then you can enable the feedback configurations as well, like even for both for extractive answers and the generative answers. When you enable feedback, so when the user is interacting with the assistant after generating the response, it would ask you for a feedback. So you can give a feedback whether the answer displayed is more relevant or not. You can give a thumbs up or thumbs down. Right? And here it will show the LLM configurations that you have defined, like which model you are using and which prompt you have selected. And the temperature here is nothing but the where you are defining the randomness and the creativity in the answer generation by LLM. Right? So the higher the temperature, the more the randomness by the LLM during the answer generation process. It is like if you want the more creativity to be shown by LLM for the answer in the answer generation, then you can set the higher temperature or you can put the lower. So higher the temperature, the more creativity and the paraphrasing. Lower the temperature, it will be more confined to the original content and display the response. And here you can set the response length. So response length here, if you have observed, I've set the value as 500 in this example, right? So that's what the token size you are allowing for LLM, maximum length of the response that the LLM should generate for the given user query. That response length you can define it over here. So these are the answer configurations that you can define. So if it is for extractive answers, you can simply enable the configuration and define the token. So this is not really required. So this is extractive answers where there is no LLM to be used. And in the generative answer, you need to configure an LLM, like you need to select the LLM that need to be used for answer generation and the prompt, right? So this you can do from the generative AI tools. If you make some changes here, even in the generative AI tools, generative AI features, you can see the changes getting reflected. So any queries with answer generation? All right. So now let's try asking few queries and understand how the answers are being generated. So we got the chunks extracted from all the content that we ingested. So let's go to test answers. So from here, the test answers in the answer configuration tab, you can ask a query and understand the performance of the application with the configurations we define, right? So let me ask a question. Okay, so let me ask a question related to the document that we synced via connector, right? So we have a student loan. So I want to know what is the interest rate for the student loan. So this is the data that we trained the application with. So let me ask a question over here, like what is the interest rate for student loan? Okay, so here it has said like the typical interest rate for student loan is between 9% to 15%. And also it has given some information like these loans are usually unsecured and can have repayment tenure ranging 5 to 15 years. So if I go to the table, so student loan 9 to 15% and it is unsecured and 5 to 15 years. So based on the data that we have trained from the document that synced via connector and we extracted the chunks, right? So it is able to understand that the question is related to the student loan and whatever the information it has is displayed to the user, right? And you have the snippet reference and from where this particular answer has been taken from or the content is been taken from, the reference of that file will be or the document or the web page will be shown over here. If you click on it, it will open the document. All right. So to understand the answer generation process, how exactly the chunks are retrieved, like what chunks are retrieved and what chunks are sent to LLM, how the answer generation taking place, you can understand the backend process from this debugger. So click on this debug icon. So here we have 25 chunks retrieved, right? And here you can see the retrieval score for this, like these are the 25 chunks that are retrieved. And the retrieval score for this is 33%. And the retrieval score for this is 32%. So for the given question, maybe because of a few semantic meaning that is related to student loan, right? So you might have some student related information within the Phoenix upload. So because of that, the chunks are retrieved, but the score, the similarity score is very little. So this is 33%, 32%. This is 32. This is 63, which has been found as a 63% relevant to the given query, right? So that is from loan types, and this is 55% and so on. So from the retrieved chunks, these are the retrieved chunks. Only one chunk got qualified. That is because of the retrieval qualification criteria. Like in the retrieval section, the in qualification criteria, we have set the threshold to 60. Only chunks which are more than 60 will be considered, like the chunks with score more than 60 will be considered, and rest all will not be considered as the qualified chunks. And only qualified chunks will be sent to LLM based on the context token limit you have, like token budget you have set. Those will be sent to LLM, right? So here, as per the retrieved chunks, only one chunk has score more than 60 and that got qualified. And based on the token budget you have defined, this chunk is able to be accommodated in the token budget of the LLM. So that one is sent to LLM and LLM received the chunk content and LLM has used this chunk for generating an answer. And you can see this the chunks that are used for answering. Right. So let me, maybe this might not give you clear understanding because we have only one chunk qualified. So I'll just reduce this to 45. Maybe you will have more chunks qualified and then you can see how the chunks are used for the answer generation. Few models are not supporting here. Let me just check. Okay. So there is some issue with the LLM, not with the configurations we defined. Okay. So I have asked another question like what are the university learning goals? So sometimes you might see that the chunks are retrieved, chunks are qualified and sent to LLM, but there is no answer generated. That could be because there could be two reasons, right? One could be there is some issue with the LLM model that you are using. Another thing could be the chunks that are sent to LLM. LLM has found that there is no much relevant information available as per the given query. May with the retrieval mechanism, like the retrieval component in RAG must have retrieved the chunks based on the semantic similarity it has found or the keyword matches it has found, and it has retrieved the chunks and they got qualified because of the qualification criteria you have set, and they are sent to LLM. But at the LLM, from the LLM point of view, it has not found much relevant information, right? So if it is whatever the context it has received for the given user query, and if the LLM did not find the context it has received is more relevant, like it doesn't contain relevant content to generate an answer, so in those cases as well you might not end up getting an answer. So these are the two scenarios where there could be some issue with the LLM, and there could be a scenario where the LLM received the content but the content is not much of the relevant information for the given query. So how to address the second scenario, we will discuss in a while. So for this particular question, what are the university learning goals? You got an answer saying that cultural competence, critical thinking, problem solving, these are the university learning goals for the given. So here you can see these are the university learning goals like cultural competence, critical thinking, communication, and all. So this is the reference. If you click on it, you would have that page loading, the entire document loading. So let us debug the answer generation process over here. So you can see for the given query, 23 chunks are retrieved, right? So this is 51% similar. This is 42, this is 29, this is 59, 59. So here you have the documents chunks retrieved. So out of 23, only 21 chunks are sent to LLM because those two chunks are score of those two chunks is below 45, which we have set, right? So out of 21 chunks, only 6 chunks are sent to LLM. That could be because of the token budget you have set for the chunks for a specific LLM. So only out of 21 chunks, only 6 chunks were able to accommodate as per the token budget you have sent. Right? So top 6 chunks will be sent to LLM. So now it's LLM call to use whether it's LLM call whether to use all the chunks or specific chunks or whatever the chunks it needs to use to generate an answer. So LLM has found only the first chunk is enough to answer the given query, and it has used the first chunk to generate the response. So from the entire content it has received, like from all the 6 chunks it has received, it has found the relevant content from the respective chunks and paraphrased and display that to the user. So in the retrieved chunks section, you would see what are the chunks that are retrieved, what are the chunks that are qualified, what are chunks that are sent to LLM, and what are the chunks that are used by LLM for answer generation. So under prompts, you can see what is the prompt that we have actually set to LLM for answer generation. This is the default V2 I have shown you, right? Or the default prompt, whatever the prompt you have set. So here you can see the prompt what we have given. So we are saying the we are setting the role for the LLM, saying that you are an AI system designed to generate vision-based answers with comprehensive, clear, and accurate responses based on the user-provided context. User-provided context is nothing but the question and as well as the chunks that are retrieved. So the instructions here is that the user will provide input as list of objects, where object 1 contains chunk metadata in the format chunk ID, contains text with semantically relevant information for the given query. Right? So here it has given some set of instructions, and also it says like if multiple chunks contain relevant information, consolidate the details into a structured response. Right? So avoid repetition while ensuring overview. If required, ensure all necessary background or prerequisites are included. Exclude irrelevant or no relevant information. So exclude irrelevant content and respond in the same language as query and provided context. So this way we have the answer guideline set, and also you can see like if no relevant information is found, respond with I don't know. So this is the same thing we have seen in the previous scenario. So here this way we have the chunks set, and here you have the user query sent to the LLM, like what are the university learning goals, and here you can see the chunks sent. So this is the first chunk. So the chunk ID is 7, and this is the content of my first chunk, right? And this is the another chunk and content. Total 6 chunks were sent to LLM, right? So this way it will show you all the chunks here. Right? So this way you can see the chunks that are sent to LLM. It's like a preview. So, and in the response, you can see what is the response that the LLM has created and which chunk it has used for answer generation. Let me ask another question. What are the master degree available in the university? Okay, so here you can see it has responded something like University of Phoenix offers several master degree. So it says leadership and management, a master program lasts 5 years. So it family nurse practitioner, then science in accounting. Additionally, university offers a masters of science in nursing. So this way it has displayed the response, right? So for the given query, and it has taken reference from the Phoenix upload and also Masters of Nursing Administration and these URLs, right? So in the debugger, if you see, out of 23 chunks that are retrieved, 22 are qualified and 16 are sent. So LLM has used all 16 for generating the answers. So here in the prompt, you can see see the 16 chunks, like whatever the chunks that are sent to LLM, right? And in the response, you can see what are the chunks, like, I think they have been segregated, like, okay, all of them are combined over here. Okay, all of them are combined and just put it in some 2 statements, I guess. So related to all the chunks related from this source and from Phoenix document, these are the 2 chunks, right? So here, this is the answer displayed to the user. So here, till here, it has used the second chunk from the Phoenix upload document, and this data, it has taken the information from the nursing administration. Right? So it is completely with LLM if it has found the relevant information from the chunks it has received. So whichever chunk it has found there is relevant information that it could include in the answer generation, it would consider the chunk. Right? So this is how the answer generation takes place. And coming back to the scenario that I was referring to, where you have given a query and the chunks are retrieved, chunks are qualified and sent to LLM. One situation where you don't have an answer generated by LLM could be an issue with the LLM. You can try shifting to another model. Maybe it has no capability to find an answer for the kind of the content it has received and generate an answer out of it. So the another scenario could be the content the LLM was sent with is not having much relevant information. But how come the chunks that are retrieved, considering they are relevant to the given query? Right? So maybe because of some semantic similarity with few keywords within the query and few content within the chunks, the chunks might be retrieved as the relevant chunks for the given query. And in case if you go with the keyword match, like hybrid retrieval, because of the keyword match, there could be some chunks that could be retrieved, right? So based on the scores that are scores calculated as well, right? So the chunks get qualified and sent to LLM. But there is no important information or the relevant information available in the chunks that you have sent to LLM. So LLM ended up generating no answer for the given query, right? So in this case, you need to think, you need to check whether the chunks, the retrieved chunks are ranked properly or not, right? So there are scenarios that like here the scenario could be the chunk that is not relevant to the given user query has been given the highest rank, because of which it got qualified and was sent to LLM, right? And there could be scenarios that the chunk that is actually more relevant to the given user query has been given the least rank, so it is not taken into consideration for the qualified chunks and is never sent to LLM. Maybe if that chunk has been sent to LLM, the LLM would have generated an answer for the given query. So in these cases, the ranking of the like the scores that are calculated or the ranking of the chunks that are retrieved might be not so appropriate in few cases, right? So as I've mentioned, because of some semantic similarities or semantic similarity issues or hybrid scores that have been calculated, you might end up having some few irrelevant chunks getting a highest score, right? So in such situations, you can apply, like you can come up with a option called re-ranking. So re-ranking basically helps you to improve the quality and the relevance of the results. So after a user makes a query and the system pulls the related chunks, re-ranking takes another look at those chunks, ensuring that the most relevant chunks are prioritized first for generating the better answers. So to enable re-ranking, go to the DevTools, go to the advanced configurations, right? So here, select re-rank chunks. So you need to select one of the re-ranker. So this re-ranker would look up for on the retrieved chunks whether the ranking for the given query has been appropriate or not, and accordingly it would assign a new rank for the retrieved chunks. Right. So here we have three re-rankers. One is cross encoder. It is ideal for fast and efficient English based tasks only. Then BGE re-ranker is for the multilingual computational requirements. Mixed breed re-ranker basically prioritizes performance and accuracy, but at the cost of higher resource usage and the slower speed. So here we are working on the English base. So I will go with the cross encoder re-ranker. So once I have given enabled a re-ranker, I need to assign few fields to the re-ranker on which the re-ranker should check for finding the newer rank for the given chunks, right? So I need to select the re-rank chunk fields. So these re-rank chunk fields are nothing but, let me show you the description. So re-rank chunk fields, uh, you need to select the chunk fields on which the re-ranker should look up and calculate the new score, right? So by default, chunk title, chunk test, and record title are selected. If you want any other fields, you can select those fields, right? And how many chunks you want it to be sent to re-ranking. So for example, let's say you have some 23 chunks retrieved. Do you want all the chunks retrieved to be re-ranked, or you want only first 10 chunks? So if I say 10 chunks, so first 10 chunks only will be re-ranked. And rest of the 13 chunks out of 23 chunks, first 10 chunks will be re-ranked, and next 13 chunks will have the same rank, how exactly they have retrieved, right? So how many chunks to be re-ranked, so that you can select it over here. So minimum 5 and maximum of 20, right? So now once you have enabled the re-ranking, let me go back and ask a question. I think some issue with the response, sorry, issue with the LLM. Okay, let me show that to you. So here 24 chunks are re-ranked, sorry, 24 chunks are retrieved. And here the retrieval score is 31% and 30%. And here this is 62%. So we know that the required response is present in this particular chunk, right? So now after you enable the re-ranking, you would have a re-ranked chunks tab assigned. So now if you come across, okay, so one second. Did I delete something? What are the secure? Maybe I'll try asking some other question. Some issue over here. Facing some issue with the LLM I'm using.
Soumya, there is some error showing on response.
Yes,
Yeah.
because LLM could not generate an answer, like maybe some issue with the LLM I'm using. So as per the prompt, it says if it doesn't find any response, like any relevant content, it should respond saying I don't know. So if you have the I
Uh,
don't know, it will just give you that warning icon kind of thing. Not really sure. The chunks are getting qualified. Everything is perfect. So like based on the query, the chunks are getting qualified, and it is being sent to LLM also. Okay. So why is it re-ranking inappropriately? Something I'm just trying to check. To least, okay. Based on the score. Okay, let me check with another questions. Mhm. Okay, so I've asked a question like what are the scholarship options available? So available to help pay for every school. So it has given the reference. So these are the chunks that are retrieved. And here re-ranking score, if you see for this given question within the Phoenix upload, this is all about the university curriculum, what are the courses it offers and all. And it was given 22% as the similarity. Right. So for here, this is the same something relate these chunks are from this document, Phoenix document, and it is given 20% similarity. And this score, this was given 70%. So these are actually given scores which are not really relevant to the given user query. Right. So with the re-ranking, you can see the score has been given 0 because these are not really relevant to the given query. Right? So from the 23, top 15 chunks are sent to LLM. So top 15 chunks which are found to be the relevant chunks are given the new scores, right? And whichever that are available, so which like the next set of the chunks are considered to be qualified and sent to LLM. So out of 8, as per the context window we have set, are sent to LLM, and LLM has chosen all the 4 to generate an answer, and they have been displayed here to the user. Right. So this way re-ranking actually helps you to look up at the ranking that the user that the chunks were given uh, with the retrieval configurations, right? And in case if needs to be given the highest score, it gives the highest score. If needs to be, if the highest ranking chunk was given, like if the chunk has been given the highest score and it is not really relevant, it will be given the lowest score accordingly. right? So that is how you can make use of the re-rank of the chunks. But one point to be noted with respect to re-rank is that increasing the fields or the chunks for re-ranking actually raises the latency due to the more complex computations or the data retrieval and the processing. And on top of that, with both generative model enabled and re-ranking enabled, the total latency includes the delay from both the re-ranking and the LLM, right? So please expect a latency when you make use of the re-ranking with higher chunks being involved for the computation. And with generative answers and the re-ranking, you would experience a little more latency. All right. So once all the configurations are done, you can test the app from the test answers in the answer configuration section. So once this is done, you can deploy the app. So to deploy the app, you can go to the app settings. Sorry, you go to the product switcher and click on deploy. Right. So to deploy, you need to configure a channel first for a like you need to like on which channel exactly you want to deploy this application, right? So that that channel configuration to be done first. So for deploying, you can do it from here. So to see where to configure your own channel on where you want the application to be deployed, go to the search AI, go to flows and channels under digital. So by default, you have the Viber mobile client already configured. In case if you want to configure any of the other channels, you can go to all and open the respective channel and go to the follow the instructions given over here to configure the channel. So after the configuration, how do we deploy on that particular channel? So all those instructions and configurations uh, given for the respective channel. So you can configure, and once you have configured the channel, so all the channels you have configured will be listed up over here. So currently by default we have web or mobile client channel. So I would show you how to deploy on it. So once you have configured any of your customer like required channel, you would have that under the configured channels. So now you need to go to deploy. And the one point you need to check over here is that under channels, check the required channel on which you want this app to be deployed. Right. So when you click on, when you check the web or mobile client, and let's say I have the Telegram also enabled. So you need to make sure that if you want your application to be deployed on the Telegram channel, you need to make sure the Telegram also will be listed. In case if it is configured, all the configured channels will be listed over here. You need to check on what channels you want this to be deployed. Right. So once you have checked the channels, deploy search AI and confirm. So please note a point that currently for Search AI, we don't have the import and export option available and app versioning. So in case if you try to export this current app and you want to import it in any other application, whatever the configurations you have done within Search AI will not be imported or cannot be exported to another app. And also you don't have the app versioning, like you cannot switch between the multiple versions of the app. Like let's say you have one version deployed now and another version deployed later time, and if you want to revoke back to the revoke it to the previous version, so that app versioning is currently unavailable for search AI configurations. Right. Let me see. Okay. So once the app publishing is done, so you can open the channel. So with respect to the web or mobile client, you can interact with the assistant through web or mobile client. So here you would have this URL enabled with which the users can interact with your virtual assistant, right? So in case if you want this assistant to be as a body sorry, as a chat widget, or to be displayed as a chat widget on your web application, you can embed this HTML code in the body tag of every page of your application, web application. So you would have the assistant, whatever the configurations you have made in this particular app, which is nothing but assistant, will be available as a chat widget on your application, right? So that way you can have it as a web have it as a assistant on the web application. So I'm just finding it to complete so that you can have this app enabled. Sorry, yeah, so it is enabled. Okay, it is not deployed yet. These were working here, right? So I think there's some issue with the remove the re-ranking ones. So there is some issue with the platform, I guess, at the moment. So usually once you deploy the app, you can see these answers were generated when we were working with the platform, right? I think some updates going on. I think some like some error, some issue currently. So usually once you deploy the app, you can have this, you can interact with the assistant from the URL. And you can ask in for a query and get an answer for the given query, right? So once you get an answer, it would ask you for a feedback. You can provide your feedback like a thumbs up or thumbs down, and those feedback, everything will be recorded, right? So for the given set of interactions that you do on the deployed app, so currently we could not make any interactions on the deployed app. So let me show you the analytics. I have some pre-configured app. Yeah. Has take me out of the application completely. Right, I think there is some unexpected error with the platform altogether. I could not log in. So, all right, maybe I will do I'll do one thing. So I'll share a snippet of like a clip of the analytics part and also the APIs interaction, like how can you ingest the data via APIs and also generate the answers via APIs, because we need the app to be present available right now to interact with the APIs and generate answer. So what exactly we do within the API interaction is that answer generation via API is that whatever the configurations you have done on the platform and with which you are generating an answer, right? So now let's say you want this to be shared with your external users, but you don't want to directly share the app and make them use it directly on the platform, but instead you can make the external users interact with the application that you have uh, developed, right, via APIs. And how do you generate an answer from that? Via API. So there is a 15 minutes of video it could be, and also and also in case if you interact with the deployed application, how the analytics will be generated, and how can you track the analytics and analyze the performance. How can you check the feedback that was given by the user for the given query, for the answer generated for the given query. So overall some 15 to 20 minutes of video. Please go through it, and in case if you have any queries related to that, please do feel free to drop me an email. I will help you with that. All right. So yeah, so maybe that would help you to understand the API's concept better. So any queries still here, please do let me know. Otherwise, we can end the session right here. And I would request you to go through the APIs, like whatever the APIs clip I would be sharing, because you would have one of the two requirements related to the API within the assignment. All right. So any queries still here, please do let me know.
Hi, Soumya. So, I have two queries.
Yes.
For example, in few cases, the knowledge might not have the required chunks or required content to answer a query. So, can we have a prompt added where we can say that when the content is not available, use your best general knowledge to answer the query? So that is possible, correct?
Yes, you can have the prompt created that way. Yes. Here we have mentioned like I don't know, right? So you can create your own prompt and you can expect your LLM to follow those guidelines.
Okay. And what if we are building multilingual AI agent and we have this knowledge source in English language or in other language, and we want to utilize that language that knowledge source for multiple language, is that possible, or we have to upload document in that particular language as well?
So you need to have the document in that language as well. So currently we support Spanish and Ukraine along with English. So whatever the language that the user is asking the query in, so you would have the answer generated in the same language.
So we have to upload the knowledge base
Yes,
also
yes,
in there.
yes, yes.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.